What's up, guys? So after the other video that I posted a couple days ago, I got a lot of great feedback. It kind of made me excited to kind of explain my story a little bit and let you guys know what's been going on if anybody's interested. So there's a lot to it. Probably be a few videos in this series kind of about what was going on. But let me start with this. Have you ever been robbed? Have you ever been, had your property broken into, been burglarized, had someone taken from you? That's a horrible feeling. That happened to me twice in 2 months, the last 2 months that I was in San Diego. Uh, Both times, and I'll explain, were basically random as far as I can tell, and I'll explain how that makes sense. But 2 times in the last 2 months I was in San Diego, got robbed, and basically lost everything uh, that I had built for the podcast up to this point. So let me explain, starting with the first time. So the first time, my wife and I were coming back from the grocery store and the gym. It was her and I and our dog, and we were coming in to our locked parking garage with a gate that swung down, secure gate. And I pull into there. I use the key fob and open the gate, and there was a pickup truck, a white pickup truck, in our parking spot. Okay, not a huge deal. Normally, actually, that would be something that would really annoy me. But that day, I was like, looking around at the situation. This was a work truck, like let's say a plumber or an electrician or something like that, looking kind of truck. So I thought, this person's probably here just doing some work on a place. They must be, helping out one of my neighbors. They probably parked there. They probably haven't even been there that long. All good. So I go back out to the street. Additionally, conveniently, there was a parking spot right there on the corner of where the garage driveway is and where the street is. So I parked right there. We hop out of the car and we go to grab the groceries out of the back of the car. As we're grabbing the groceries that we had brought home, I see some headlights come on in the garage, and these headlights come on in a spot where I think it would make sense for them to be if it was that truck, like if it was my parking spot, because they were backed into it. And I go and look, and this person is pulling out of my parking spot. And I'm like, okay, great, that's too easy. So I wait. The garage door opens automatically if the car pulls up to it. They pull out. I give them a wave, right? Give them a wave like they're my buddy. And as they're pulling out, I'm like, oh yeah, look at this person. This person was just doing some work. The back of their truck's full of like work tools, bags, Pelican cases. Even one of those Pelican cases is just like one of my Pelican cases. In fact, it's the same Pelican case that I have in my parking spot. Don't put two and two together right then at that moment. Get in my car, drive in, notice that my Pelican case is gone. It had just been taken by that guy. I had seen it driving away. And when I waved to him, he kind of looked the other way and drove away. You know what? That was the guy. He was robbing me right there. It happened right in front of me. Now, getting robbed, getting your shit taken, that's one thing. But here's what really bothered me about that. Like, less than a minute had passed from when I saw that car in the driveway. So if I had been 1 minute later getting home, I would have opened that key fob, driven into the garage, and seen that guy loading my stuff into the back of his truck. And now what am I going to do? Let me present the situation like this. I've got the only exit blocked, and I've caught somebody in the act of robbing me. I'm with my wife and my dog. What do you think this person would be willing to do to get away? Right? Probably anything. Like, what's the worst thing you could imagine? Probably what? Murder, assault. And I've got to worry about protecting the people that I care about, That's a tough situation. So that was a really, really frustrating situation. I tried to, at that point, drive back out of the garage and follow him to see where he went while my wife called the police. But it was too late. He was gone. So that was around June timeframe in San Diego. And basically what I lost in that was a bunch of not very high value items that I use for my videos when I'm recording videos, like tripods and colored filters for lights, stuff like that, backdrops, a lot of random things that I had stuffed in this case. So I know what you might be thinking. I'm going to get to it. So let's fast forward. August 2019, right? I'm leaving San Diego in September. I got on a work trip. So when I'm getting ready to go on my work trip, I pack my car full of all the things I'm going to use to try to record some podcast episodes, some videos while I'm on travel, meeting up with some cool people, hopefully. But in this case, the car that I had rented was everything was fitting a little tighter than usual. It was a little bit smaller of a vehicle. So I had to leave some stuff behind. So I chose to leave that stuff behind in my car, which was, I left in the trunk of the car, which was parked in a different parking spot, a different level of the parking garage, right? That this person had never seen my car, presumably. So the person that robbed me last time, I mean. So they had, they didn't know what my car actually was. So I got my car parked in this other spot. a day after I go on that work trip, the roommate that we had at the time texts me or sends me a Facebook message with a picture of my window smashed out. I'll put that picture up here, and says, "Hey, I think your car was broken into." Oh man, yeah, definitely looks like it was. So call the police. The police can't do anything because I'm not there to verify what was taken. I had been gone for a couple weeks, so I had my back of my car window covered up, and I came back from that work trip. Fast forward a few weeks, I come back, my cameras, my audio recording gear, all my podcast gear, memory cards, microphones, probably $5,000-$6,000 worth of stuff gone, and that really sucks. Insurance didn't cover any of that either time. As far as the podcast stuff goes, I did get insurance to cover one thing, which was a camera that was taken, but I had to use that money to replace that camera. So I lost, everything that I had for podcasting, all the cables, microphones, mic stands, soundboard, you name it, a ton of stuff. I had the whole thing itemized, but it was a big loss. That was pretty disheartening. And, not only that, but I was donating my car to a nonprofit. So, like a couple days after I got home from that trip, so I had to spend $500 to get my rear car window fixed. So, not only did I get everything taken, but I also had to spend the money to replace the car window just to then donate the car. So, it ended up being a pretty big loss. And it just sucks. Like, if you've ever been robbed, it sucks. It's a bad feeling. So here's the thing that I've heard. Somebody says something, I think this is so stupid. Somebody says something like, well, it's your fault for leaving the stuff out there. Okay. So let's break that down real quick. Somebody says it's your fault for leaving that stuff out there. It's your fault for making the stuff accessible to a criminal. And keep in mind, the first time it was just in a box sitting out. The garage was a locked garage. Somebody had to let that person in the first place, or they had to sneak in behind somebody. But I left some stuff in a box. Okay, they just, crime of opportunity. They loaded my stuff in there, and it wasn't anything super valuable. Not that it was cheap, and just the Pelican case alone isn't cheap. But okay, I'm willing to accept that I could have been more proactive. Now, the second time, the back window of my car was bashed in, right? You saw the picture. So that was not only sneaking into the building, but also breaking into my car. Now, here's why those types of crime, like, it's just stuff, right? It's just stuff. But here's why that type of thing really bothers me. Because my wife, for one, when she was in residency for her job, she would, get called into work all hours of the night. So this crime, by the security cameras, happened around 3 a.m. So let's say she's walking in. That's normally her parking spot. She walks into the garage, and there's people burglarizing your car. 3 people in masks. You walk in on that in your home, right? It's about what could have happened, It's about what could have happened, not necessarily what did happen. We got lucky, but what could have happened was much worse. Now, back to what I was talking about, leaving your stuff out there to be stolen being your fault. Here's why I think that's BS. So you leave stuff out there, it gets stolen. That's your fault. Let's say somebody says that. People have said that to me. If you're in the wrong neighborhood, a bad neighborhood, and get murdered, is it your fault for getting murdered? I always think the person who commits the crime, it's their fault. I'm not saying that there's not exceptional circumstances, like people in poverty or people who have had a bad upbringing, people who were abused growing up, something like that, people that are addicted to drugs, who have to go to extreme lengths to, battle this addiction. I'm not saying I don't feel bad for people who resort to doing stuff like this. And of course, in some instances you shouldn't, because some people are just trash. But to say that it's your fault, it's never the victim's fault, okay? It's always the person who commits the crime's fault. Now, would you tell a girl who got raped that it was her fault for what she was wearing? That's insane, right? You basically, if you say, nowadays, you say something like that, you basically have to, quit your job, you get publicly ridiculed, you're going to be on the 5 o'clock news. Like, this is the end of your life, So anytime that there's a crime, it's the criminal's fault. That's my position on that. So could I have been more proactive and put my stuff away, locked up, in my house, yeah. But it's still never the fault of the person who gets robbed. It's the criminal's fault, right? Tough thing about robbery nowadays, doesn't even get investigated by the police. I was told they literally don't even look into it. It's not a high enough crime. It's not a high enough dollar value. Nobody was hurt. They just don't even. It just goes on the books as a a report, and literally nothing happens. So pretty much all of my equipment. So long story short, everything that I had been accumulating over the years got robbed from me in the last couple months that I was in San Diego. And I didn't have the money to replace it. The insurance money that I did get, I had to use to replace cameras, so I can continue to do my work, doing my filmmaking side business, side job. So a lot of the reason for not having new podcast episodes was that, not just that the equipment was gone, but just the disheartening aspect of that. Like sometimes enough's enough, and you're like, man, I just cannot take it anymore. Like how much can one person take? Have you had one of those days where it just feels like every moment of every day is like somebody just cut you off and flipped you off for no reason, just every moment, every day. So that's how I was feeling at the time. So that's one part of the story. There's a lot more to come. That's just a quick rundown as to one of the hurdles that was put in front of me right before. And the tough thing was, 2 weeks after that was all settled, I left and moved out to Japan. So that was a tough thing to deal with at the time. Really kind of set me off psychologically. It made me really angry. That's the main thing. And it's not about the things, it's about what could have happened. You walk in on something like that happening to you. What's the worst that could have happened is how I always think, and what measures could we put in place in our community to make those things less prevalent, maybe make the community a little safer. Anyway, I digress. So that's the main thing for today. Today was also the Super Bowl. This side note, I watched no football games this year. I've never been a big football fan. Today, the Super Bowl started at 8 a.m. here in Okinawa. I went to the gym. I went and got a haircut. I went and walked my dog for a while. I just wasn't interested. I heard that the Kansas City Chiefs won. So to all my KC, Kansas buddies, congratulations. I bet you're really happy. I can picture you all out right now just burning it down. So good for you. I know that means a lot to you. If you're a 49ers fan and you lost, sorry to hear that. That's tough. But I heard it was a good game. I saw it for 2 seconds when I was in the haircut store. They had it on TV, and it was 20-10 49ers. So for me, whenever I watch sports, it always makes me want to go out and play sports or be active. So for me, a better option was going to the gym, playing rock and roll music really loud, and getting a good workout in. I love that. I'd way rather be doing that than watching it on TV. And not there's anything wrong with watching sports, but just for me, football doesn't really get it going for me. So that's what I did today. So happy Super Bowl Sunday. Glad to talk to you guys. Thanks for all the support. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. There's more videos coming. There's more of the story to tell. Let me know what you're thinking on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. And I'll be in touch with a new video very soon.